I've always had this idea of sailing across the South Pacific, especially to French Polynesia, the Marquesas, Tahiti, Bora Bora. For years I'd been dreaming of sailing there in a Pacific Seacraft 37, a well-built little ship, steady, sea-kindly, and sails like a witch. This boat was even inducted into the Sailboat Hall of Fame. Designed by the legendary Bill Crealock, a Scotsman who cruised the South Pacific after studying naval architecture and had a pretty good idea how to design a seaworthy cruising boat. So when Pam said, "You need to buy a boat now so we can get it ready," I didn't hesitate. I saw one for sale in Ventura, California. David Crosby's sailboat was also for sale down there. Some really famous songs by Crosby, Stills and Nash were written on that boat, but I'd have to work until I was 90 to afford it. So I went down there to have a look at this Crealock 37. She looked pretty nice sitting there in her slip. We took her out for a sail, we checked her out, we hired a marine surveyor to look her over, and she was all set up to go cruising. Her equipment was all up to date, her engine was in really great shape too. They say that a happiest day of a man's life is when he buys a boat, and the second happiest is when he sells it. Well, this is me on the happiest day of my life. We sailed her up to San Francisco and through the Golden Gate to her new home, and we named her Pamela. It's a beautiful day on the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a Golden Gate. It's a beautiful day on the bay, and we are single-handing Pamela right now. She's working with her engine and her autopilot. In front we got the South Bay. We got some big tankers out there. This is coming into view. ATT Ballpark there. Big game yesterday, Cal. The place was crowded with people. There's the city front. Bay Bridge. I guess I better get back to the cockpit. Do some sailing.
Whoa!
What's that? Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we're okay. We'll get a little wake in a minute. Pam's actually sailing Pamela. Well, Pamela's looking pretty here right outside the slip. Maybe we'll get a little air today. We'll see. It's a beautiful day.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor?
What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning?
Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning.
Here's my first really good eye splice. This is for the bosun's chair pulley system. Isn't that nice? You take your time, real patient. It's not too hard. Right, Little Bear? Little Bear and me enjoyed hanging out that summer. Hanging out on the boat most weekends, working on projects, varnishing, getting up to the top of the mast, making a bosun's chair, that kind of stuff. Look at all that bright, shiny varnish. Now, some sailors don't like to have much wood on their boat, but I love it. It took Little Bear a little while to kind of figure out the boat. He wasn't sure how to get down to companionway, but he figured it out. Come on. South Beach Harbor in San Francisco, right next to AT&T Ballpark. Great place to spend evenings. Great place for the winter as well. I enjoyed staying there with Little Bear on the weekends in the winter. We had the place all to ourselves. All the sailors were gone. Now they'd be back in the summer, but in the wintertime, they're at home. Just us. Sailing on San Francisco Bay is challenging and often cold, and certainly in the wintertime. But we got the family out and did some sailing. As springtime came, I began to think about going solo up to Drake's Bay, which is at the end of Point Reyes. Drake's Bay seemed like a good challenge, especially for me single-handing. There's something ominous about taking a boat outside the protected waters of the bay and into the rollicking Pacific rollers along a rocky lee shore. Often foggy, the Cape of Point Reyes has claimed literally hundreds of ships in the past 400 years of nautical history. I managed to get the top of my mainsail, and I was a little worried about that at first, but with the wind out of the north as usual, I was able to set the sail out, and even with the top of it ripped off, we made our way back, broad reaching, all the way back. The Golden Gate is more than a portal from the world's most lovely city to the blue ocean beyond. It's a milestone in the life of a sailor. Turn left and you fly downwind and surf the rising swells. Turn right and you take them hard on the bow while you battle the 20 knot winds, often up to 30, 35, head on. Go straight, you sail into the sunset and on to Hawaii, broad reaching your way to the trade winds that enabled the age of discovery. Summertime brought the America's Cup. What fun it was to watch those boats, as well as a World Series in which the Giants won. What a great time to be in San Francisco, on the water. With my new mainsail, it was time for me to take another crack at Point Reyes. Here we are leaving the slip, going into the Bay Bridge. Today is Saturday the 21st of July, and we are single-handing the boat to Drake's Bay at Point Reyes. Been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm trying to see how she does in big seas, and I expect there might be some big seas today, and how I do. Sun's just coming up. It should be a pretty day. I expect it might be a little foggy out there. We'll see. Just bobbing around like a cork, motor sailing, eating ginger tablets. As you can see, it's a little uncomfortable. That's what it's like. Hoping we get a little more wind as we get out further. But be careful what you hope for. I think the winds are going to come up really strong in about 2 hours. Well, let's see. Up there, the solar panels, the sun hitting it. We're actually making enough electricity to keep the battery charged up at about 96%. We're just running the autopilot on standby, and we have this navigation stuff. She's doing really well. All this close haul. And we went along. We got 23 knots of wind, but the seas are very flat in here. We're just making it into Drake's Bay, the outer part of the bay, outer mouth of the bay, which is about 8 miles wide. So it's a pretty wide bay right here. You can just see down there. Drake's Bay is about 5 miles away. There's the point of Drake's Bay. Sir Francis Drake completely missed the San Francisco Bay, but he discovered this little bay of Point Reyes in June 1579. He named it Nova Albion, meaning New England, possibly because of the white cliffs around the bay, which resemble the chalky white cliffs of Dover. When his ship the Golden Hind landed here, it's likely that she carried Peruvian gold and silver worth over $40 million today, including 26 tons of silver taken from the Spanish galleon Cacafuego, Drake's greatest prize ever. I'm gonna ghost down the coast. I'm gonna make the most of the morning in Drake's Bay. Well, it's about 0700, 7:15. We're underway. That sun doesn't want to come out, but it will later. A little bit of wind, 2-3 knots of wind. Actually going about 2.6 knots downwind. And that's the beautiful side of Drake's Bay there, the point. Lovely red there on the coast as the sun begins to hit it. We're sailing along now, just coming out of Drake's Bay. Southerly wind at about 11 knots. Pamela's sailing herself.
Turn off your mind, relax and float downstream. It is our time.
Well, we've made it back into the bay. And we are sailing. Woohoo! We got Oh, 10, 11 knots of wind, gusting up to 15. How crowded it is in here. We got French ships coming in, we got kite surfers jumping across our lake. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Welcome home, boy. Coming home to San Francisco. To get Pamela ready for Mexico in October and French Polynesia the following March, she needed a new feathering propeller, bottom paint, a diesel engine servicing, and all new standing rigging. That's all those wires to keep the mast from falling down. Pamela's gonna get wet. Boy, she wants to be in the water. Look at that smile on her face. She looked really odd without her mast, her boom, and all her standing rigging. But the folks at Svensson's took care of her, got her all in good shape, and we got her back in the water pretty soon. The next thing on my list was to figure out how her spinnaker worked. Alright, we're flying Pamela with her spinnaker for the first time. This is pretty cool. And Tracy Rogers is helping me sail her today. How great it's going to be to hoist that spinnaker on our way down to Mexico. 4 more months. God, I can't wait.
It is believing. But listen to the